Hello there, ladies, gentlemen and unicorns. I welcome you to this little stream. As always, thank you so much for allowing me to waste your time. First things first, I hope you can hear me. I got some levels there on the readout, so I think I'm good. I can see myself with a couple of seconds delay in the other window. And today I hope things are going a bit to be a bit different, because for one thing is that I'm streaming in only 30 frames per second, so I hope you don't have to set aside that enough or the amount of usual bandwidth that was necessary to stream 60 FPS of me just talking and moving my mouse at 60 FPS. So yeah, I realized it's not really worth it, especially not for this kind of stream here, where the other 30 frames, you won't miss it. Believe me, you won't miss those. I can see some activity in the chat, and Red Hermit is being generous again today. Thank you so much for gifting 3 subs already in the channel. Thank you. This really means a lot to me, and it's also very nice to give back to the community. I said give back to the community, but you're part of the community and you're gifting to other people in the community, so I should be gifting things. Yeah, it doesn't really work now that I'm thinking of it. So, yes, as always, since it's very hot here and it is summer, whenever I say the word unicorn, we all should have a sip of water, because it's healthy to stay hydrated. And look at this. I got myself special water with 4 ice cubes. This is already the second set of ice cubes. The other one just melted before, so I hope this one will last a little longer. So, how was your week? I hope it was as good as mine was, because I was fortunate enough to have this week off. So I spent more time than usual working on stuff. But yeah, I tried to dial it a little bit back and went to see the great outdoors. I don't know if you have noticed it. There's this big lens flare outside that's incredibly hot, and it burns your eyes if you look right into it. So yeah, this was all a new experience for me, but it was nice. It was nice. So yeah, thank you again for stopping by. And let's see in the chat. Yeah, if you want my attention in the chat, please add me with Pixel Prophecy, because I'm as regular viewers already know that it's very easy for me to overlook something in the chat, and then I'm commenting on one line that's completely taken out of context, and everyone is a little bit more confused than we were before. Okay, so what's our program for today? I don't know if you've watched last time. You didn't miss a lot. I just want to show you how the finished, well, it's not that finished, but the finished asset that I made last time looks, and how it looks in the game, how my game looks so far after I think 1 month or so of working on it. And Lipton just said something in the chat, so I will continue my thought later. I probably won't. LJ so I thought Lipton, but it's LJ Pton. Pixel, I'm the guy who made a game jam devlog and asked you to give it a look. Oh yes, I remember, and maybe I have some good advice on what to make better. Well, I got something to watch now. Okay, wonderful. You know what? Let me do this next week, because I've already planned something for today. But if it's cool with you, next week we'll be looking at your game jam dev log video, and I will just give my honest feedback on it as requested. And what I always find interesting is how other people's experiences with game jams and game making are in general. So yeah, this is why I think it's great that we have so many voices, especially in indie and game hobbyists, because we all come from different walks of lives, and we all have different ways of incorporating our passionate hobby of making games into our lives. So I really find this very fascinating. And Marshmallow Thief is also there. Wonderful. Okay, to finish my thought from before, so the asset that I started making, it was modeling and texturing and shading in Maya. It's, like I said, pretty much finished. I'm not happy with it, so I will probably do the mapping all over again. But yeah, it's kind of okay, and I want to show you how my prototype progressed from the last time. This was last week or 2 weeks before that I showed it, because I'm pretty proud of how things are coming along, all things considered, that I'm new to Unity. And yeah, and today I thought I need an asset, and I want to show you my whole process of this is the idea, this is how I want it to look, and this let's model it, let's shade it, and let's bring it into the game and make it a usable object in the game. So at least this is the plan for today. And yes, we're off to a good start with 9 viewers already. So again, thank you so much for dropping by and allowing me to to your living room, I want to say, but yeah, I'm not I'm not doing this on broadcast television. I'm old. I don't know how things work. Okay, let's switch over to my beautiful background image on my desktop. I hope you can see my mouse. Let's see if I got, apparently not. Let me just quickly set up glass brick. So it's the Windows and the Alt key. Yes, this works. Yeah, I reset up my computer yesterday, and it took me 8 hours to set everything up and have running again. But yeah, so far at least I tried to get everything as working as possible. This doesn't sound right. Anyway, so what I have open now is Maya, Photoshop, Unity and OBS concurrently. So yeah, I think 30 frames is plenty for my poor computer to work with. So without further ado, let me try to find the game that I can show you how it looks currently. Game is a bit an exaggeration. It's more of a prototype that's very much still in the works, but you know me, I want to have things look nice. And let me just find it. And this is why I spent some time on modeling and shading certain aspects, and others are still gray blocks and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. And Lady Missiliff says, I'm willing to bet I'm older than you. I'm not quite sure if I want to bet or if you want to bet, but probably not by much, I would assume. But then again, never assume a person's age. Apparently this is not what you do nowadays. I've been burned a couple of times in conversations when I think, yeah, hey, you look pretty young for a 46-year-old person. It was yeah, they weren't 46, they were 36, and they looked pretty old, but yeah, never mind. So yeah, look who's talking, I know. Okay, so let's get the build. I just realized my first build was from July 19th and it is now August 16th. Yes, I had to look it up. So it's almost 1 month of me working on this prototype. So yeah, let's give it a try and see if OBS and everything is working. Made with Unity, yes it is. So this time I'm skipping now this initial FMV bit, because we all know how it works. So yeah, this is how my game currently looks like. In terms of the functionality, yes, we can hover something, we can move around, we can step on our toes, we can crouch, and I can even switch on my flashlight, and when I hit the right mouse button, there we go, I can just move the flashlight, and the flashlight always focuses on what the mouse is actually hovering over, so it's not just the direction, it's the actual collider, the object. And oh yeah, of course, and I got just started with a nice lightning system. Thank you, right on cue, where every 25 seconds it does this little lightning bit, where I just thought it would be helpful to just see for myself how the mood is coming along. Yeah, this wall here, those windows here, this wall segment, this is what I made last time in Maya, and yeah, thank you. I'm not too happy with it. By the way, the window pane itself, you can see it's way too shiny. Yeah, this is just a stand-in material. It has no mapping so far. What I'm pretty happy with are those bricks here. Spent way too long to map them. And what I, of course, overlooked is especially, which is especially fun because I mentioned it in the stream last time, is that I wanted to map or have the UV map down here at eye level much more dense, that you have more pixels at eye level, because when you look up there you probably won't be seeing any 4K texture resolution anyway. So this is why anything that's up there should have been mapped differently. And currently, yeah, it looks like an old gen game in terms of the graphics. So yeah, I'm not too happy with it. But yeah, the other thing that's working, you can see here, I've got a companion cube, because when I hit I got this inventory system. Right now it doesn't do much. Those examine and use buttons are not used, but when you pick up something, so let's pick up this big bad capsule here, and also this crumpled paper we have here. When I go back into my inventory, I can hover over it, and everything that's with a star is something that I've picked up and hadn't picked up or haven't looked at before. Yeah, we get a close-up of the thing that we picked up right now from this big bad capsule. It's this part here of of the desk. This is because I don't have any other object modeled. I have only this desk with the drawers and this wall segment here. So pretty much everything else is just Unity stuff. So when I hit over here over this crumpled paper, you can see here it's just the object itself. I got a question in the chat that I've of course overlooked. Pixel Prophecy, how long would you say you've worked on this project? You mean in hours? It's really hard to say, but I didn't work on it every day. Let's say every other day for 2 to 4 to 6 hours maybe. So if I had to guess, I would say 30 hours-ish, but this involves also sitting in the cafe and just drawing like a madman on my pad. And yes, of course, there are 4 objects to be found currently, so I put this magical MacGuffin up here just so that you have to hit space to step on your toes. And finally this companion cube, because I just wanted to see how fast I can add an object to my game and have it all wired up, that it also shows up here in the inventory. So yeah, the magical MacGuffin is just rotating, and of course the companion cube. Right now this implementation, I can show you how this is done with this 3D space here where we can look at the objects. Believe me, it's very wasteful, because right now I'm rendering the scene twice. This is just a render texture, and this is a part of the scene that's just a little bit aside from the main scene, where the lights don't interact with anything that I have in this scene. But yeah, essentially I'm rendering it twice, and also here with bumped up shadows and anti-aliasing and so on. So yeah, it's quite wasteful currently, because I'm not deactivating the camera in the background. When I hit F, when I'm here in the inventory, I just realized, yeah, you can hardly see it, but it still switches on here. I think now it's more obvious. It switches on and off the flashlight, for example. So yeah, I'm not too happy with how it looks, but at least I got the functionality right. And yeah, also here you can see it when I'm very close to an object, when I'm hovering over it. Now the flashlight, like I said, it just focuses on what you are looking at, and this is not limited to first-person view, but well, it's still first-person view, but also if you detach here the mouse pointer, the flashlight, yeah, just is pointed at the point where the interaction, the raycast is happening. And yeah, this is currently the state of affairs. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out in terms of the look, not so much with the mapping, and also with these weird artifacts here. Yeah, the model is apparently not too good, but yeah, this is how things are currently. So let's end this, because if I hit escape and am not in an FMV scene, the game doesn't quit. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah, just a thing here in Unity to show you this render thing here. When I look at something in my inventory, I've got this little scene here which I call UI stage, which has a camera and 3 light sources. Yeah, that it just looks like a little stage. And everything is on its own layer isolations, but the thing is that I've noticed is, yeah, it doesn't render on the main camera if I set the main camera to render not what's on the layer isolations, but for some reason the lights do. So this is why I have it here just side, like I said, of my scene, and currently rendering to a texture, and very, very wasteful, but it works. It works so far, and yeah. Also, my lightning system is just very simple. Essentially, it starts a coroutine that displays the lightning sprite here and switches on a directional light and a point light, and then just fades it out over half a second or a quarter of a second, and does it 3 times in succession. And if you fade out, switch on a light and fade it out, it looks like lightning. So there is not very not a lot to this. So yeah, now the question is, what are we going to model, to texture, to shade, and to put in the game that I can work with it? And since in my little design document I want the player to be able to open this drawer here, I need a key for this drawer lock. So today I'm going to model, shade a key, and then put it in the game, and then wire it up so that I can pick it up, look at it in the inventory, and we'll see if there is still some time left. Maybe make it even change the code here that I can have something in my game that is able to be unlocked by another item. Since this is going to be an adventure game, pretty much any item is, yeah, conceptually everything is just lock and key. You use this item here to unlock something else, and then you progress, and everything is just gated by lock and key. Minimize Unity and see how we progress from there. Okay, so as for the key, my a big part of my research and concepting stage is research. Lots and lots and lots of images and pictures you can see here. Got here miscellaneous, office, warehouse, and medicine bottle. I don't know if I would need it, but I just thought I stumbled over it and found some good pictures, so yeah, maybe I need it. So here in the warehouse, this is the warehouse scene. You can see here I got folded for bricks, crates, the fuse box, fuses itself, keys, the light switch, metal case, padlocks, and so on. So pretty much anything that I can use as a reference in terms of 1940s, how 1940s warehouses looked and how they were stocked and so on and so forth, is in this folder here. And today I'll be looking at, okay, I can't click when I'm zoomed in. I'll be looking at keys. Let's make the icons extra large. And I think for a desk drawer key, this thing here, this key, is I think the one that I'll be using as a reference for shading and of course the modeling. So this is our very simple concept. Let me show it to you a little bit bigger. So I think this I got of some kind of eBay-like site. I'm not quite sure if it was in fact eBay, but yeah, there's a lot of people who want to auction off their old antiquities and vintage furniture, and this is where I realized that I get most of the things that I can use as references, because you got multiple angles of the same object, so it's much easier if you need something. So yeah, keys, maybe I need some more keys that are bigger keys, but hey, look at this. They are pretty well photographed, so I can use those. Okay, so this is wonderful, by the way, that we even get here the actual size of the key, because I want to have everything at real world scale. I see how far I can go with it in terms of doors, because in games when doors have the real physical size because of the field of view and also your colliders, it feels a little bit cramped, so I'm not quite sure if I can keep it up. But yeah, for realism's and authenticity's sake, I want to have everything at world scale. So this thing here should be 35 millimeters by 25 millimeters. So and in terms of modeling, it should be quite simple. I think this I don't have to have it this flat, so maybe a torus, then a cylinder, and there a box with some indentations should work fine. So yeah, I'm not trying to recreate this exactly. Again, this is just my reference. So let's bring up Maya, which I also installed, the 2020 version. And with Maya, it's always fun to install because even when there's just a 0.1 patch, it has to download like 3 gigabytes and takes a quarter of an hour or 3/4 of an hour to install and update, and I don't know why it's doing. It's a bit like this. I don't know if you have seen it. This 66 gigabyte sized patch to patch weapon skin on the Xbox One. Microsoft. Alright, so like I said, world scale. So the first thing that I'll be doing is in Maya, I will set up my scale of the world accordingly. I think I have it here in settings, and the working units are centimeter or millimeter, and since everything I model in for Unity for the export is in meters, so I will switch it over to meters, and we're good. And oh, thank you, just got an email. Let me just uncover here the chat in case someone should be writing something in the chat, because yeah, three screens and still not enough. Okay, so yeah, let's start very straightforwardly with a torus. Or should I start with a disk? Yeah, you know what, let's start with a disk, but apparently this is not how I want my disk to look in terms of wireframe. I'm not quite sure if you can see the wireframe. Let me switch over. Yeah, this is not the wireframe that I wanted. So yeah, instead let's create a cylinder. This is for the ring of the key, this part here. So let's just make it like so. Doesn't have to be very tall, because I'll be I'll be extruding it anyway. And no, I don't want to save it just now. Where do I have the settings here? My subdivision settings. So I want more subdivisions here for the cap, because I'm going to delete everything, so I just have this one ring there, and I think this should be good. Now the question is, how many subdivisions? I want to have it look wonderfully detailed. Well, then of course we should have 200 segments, but already this part of would have 2,400 triangles. So apparently, yeah, this is probably a no-go, even though today's graphics cards. I've realized so far, I'm not an expert, but I've realized that it's not the amount of polygons that's problematic nowadays. It's more like the amount of textures that you can use, because you want, of course, multiple maps that everything looks very good, and 4K and so on. So video memory is, I think, much more of a bottleneck than actual polygon count. So I think maybe 18 is, yeah, this is a little bit too jaggedy. Always think in multiples of 4, so let's go with 32. I think this should look all right. So, and like I said, I only want to use part of it, this ring here, and pretty much everything else could go, so that I just have this part here. This is wonderful, cool. So let me center my pivot here. And yeah, right, what I overlooked so far is the scale, but right now it's for me it's a bit easier to scale when I'm working at arbitrary values, just that I can move my camera around easily, because if you're too close, and since I've set up my project to meters, I have to be very close, and then it gets a little bit problematic with camera clipping planes and so on. So this is why I will do the scaling just in the end. So this one I think is a bit, where is my reference here? This is more of an O shape than a very round circle. So I just scale it. Apparently I still have here my, yeah, I scale it in steps, but yeah, I think this should look fine. But of course now the outside looks a bit squashed, so I scale it up. Yeah, maybe I need to do this like so, that it looks okay. Maybe it's now it's a bit too oval. Yeah, this feels right, like a zero, like this zero number. Wonderful. Let me find my menus. Okay, so the next thing is I'll be doing this. I don't know what's it called, the barrel perhaps of the key. I'm not a blacksmith or whoever, a locksmith I think is the correct term, of people and persons who are whose job it is to make keys. So yeah, this will be, let's call it the barrel, because I come from first-person shooters and everything that looks like this is called a barrel. So again, we have here the question of how many segments do we need, and I always like to work in multiples of 2 or powers of 2. So let's go with 16. This might still be a bit too much. You know, let's go by 12, maybe 12. 12 should be fine. Again, this is a very small object, and the only real good look you get at it will be when you're looking at it in the inventory. And so I think 12 segments should be all right. And subdivisions in terms of height, yeah, let's go with some subdivisions first, mostly because I just want to extrude this this unlocking part here. Man, I should really have looked up the correct terms for this. But yeah, then I will reduce the polygons later. So let's go with this amount here and just move here my edges, my loops here in the correct position. And then, like I said, deleting polygons is easy, but when you realize you have deleted too many, then it's a little bit problematic to get them back. Of course, yeah, this has to be taken with a grain of salt, because of course you can have too many polygons and then reducing them in a sensible way is not that possible. So yeah, maybe I should align this also there on the grid, that I can have a good look at it. And in terms of the proportions, yeah, this needs to be much, the radius needs to be much bigger. There we go. This is probably too big. Yeah, maybe like so. I think this feels all right. This feels correct. So now I will extrude here those 2 segments, and those will become this. In German we say the beard of the key. So this will be the beard of the key then. And you've noticed that I've still this part here. Let me highlight it. This part here is still used as some kind of margin. Here it is not, but I think, yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of this edge loop then. I just thought that I might be needing it, but then of course it wouldn't make sense. So yeah, it's gone now. Cool. Okay, so let me extrude here those 2 faces here. And I will just extrude them downwards, like so. And see how it looks here in my reference. Yeah, it's a bit too wide, I feel, but yeah, it's not a problem. It still feels a bit wrong to be able to turn this key, but then again, I think we're good. I mean, going back and forth is part of the charm of making 3D graphics in general, but I think it's in terms of wavering where to go, it's probably like with any art form. In the end, you just have to try things out, and then you will know if it works or if it does not. Okay, the next thing is that I will of course need some more segments to get this kind of shape there working. So probably need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 subdivisions there. Maybe I can cheat my way around them with a little bit less. But like I said, the problem is when I'm adding edge loops now, I will have to collapse the polygons together then. So let me show it to you like this so you can see a bit better here. Now I'm just adding edge loops to everything, which I will probably get rid of anyway, because we need the divisions here in front. Here in the back they aren't that necessary. Okay, so let's see how this is laid out roughly. So let's move this one up, and yeah, also this one, and those 2 can also follow through. And yeah, mine won't be as detailed, probably as our reference, but this is okay. Like I said, it's just going to be a very small key. Okay, now let's try and see if I can extrude them inwards again. Extrude. The problem with extrusions is that you can see what is happening, that it creates faces sometimes where you don't need them, so probably I should have done it differently and instead extruded outwards. And you know what, I think this is what we're going to do. So I will just move everything back in there and then extrude the shape outwards. It took me surprisingly long until I realized that you could do this the first course of action is if you want to have indentations, well, then you model it as far as you want and then move back in. But if you, as you've seen it, you have to you invite yourself into a world of pain because you have to delete a lot of faces and then patch everything up and make the mesh nice again. Or like I said, you can just extrude outwards and have to worry about nothing of that. So the next one will be here, and here you can probably see there I will have faces that are halfway between those things here. There is a face, I'm not quite sure if you can see it, but if I move it apart, you have faces here and also here. So I will, in the end, I will need to, of course, will do things manually from there, but at least it's not going to be as problematic as deleting faces there. So yeah, then I want to extrude this one here, and now I'm going to be a bit smarter about it, that I don't have to do it like I just outlined, that I will have to do it there, because I'm extruding everything to this one, and then I will extrude this part here as well. And so I don't have to delete faces or anything else, but I can see I messed things up because I didn't extrude them properly. Wonderful. So yeah, now everything is flat, which is good. Okay, cool. Now let me grab those two faces and extrude them outwards. Good. And finally this piece here, and also like this. Let's have a look at it in the top view. It shouldn't be, of course, too regular, since, I mean, after all, this is a lock, so we want to have some kind of irregularity, otherwise it would be pretty easy to crack the lock. So I think, yeah, I'm going just for visual merit over actual locksmith value. I would think that, yeah, this looks nice. Hope you agree, this looks nice for a key. And if you look at it, we already got 400 faces and haven't even extruded this one so far. So yeah, let's get this shape here correct. And to get this here right, since, like I said, I did things incorrectly on this one here, now I have to manually split this polygon here. But I don't even have to, yeah, I don't even have to do a loop. Just make it like this and break it here along those lines, and then on the underside I merge this polygon to a triangle again. Wonderful. So when I'm isolating those parts now, like so, when I pull this part apart here, I can now delete those two faces here, those two faces, and as well as those two faces, which is good. And then I just have to make sure that the vertices, the edges, edge points overlap perfectly with what I've just made. So let me undo this first, so I can delete now those Z fighting planes here. Delete, also delete this, and yeah, this is halfway there. And now when I zoom in, you can see that those two vertices are not on top of each other exactly, so this is why I have to snap them together and then fuse them together. And yeah, lots of fun time for the whole family. So what's going on here? Oh, of course, yeah, this was too far. So yeah, now it's good. So I can unisolate the part here, and yeah, this looks good. And then just mesh and merge those points together. Merge threshold is, let's go 0.001 meters, which should be 1 millimeter. Cool. The next question is, should this part here, those parts here, right now they're just a little bit angled. Should they be completely flat or not? Let's compare with our reference here. Yeah, they look a bit round, so I think I will keep this. This looks good. So yeah, let's go with this. But I will smooth the normals now. Mesh display smooth. Thank you very much, phone. So now the normals look a little bit smoother. Only here the edge is a bit harder. And yes, maybe I can take this vertex here and pull it out so that we get some kind of round. Well, it's too much. Maybe just a little bit. Yeah. What do you think? I think this looks quite okay. You can see here maybe that some edges here are a bit thicker than others. Those are edges, they're in the UV map, but we haven't UV mapped anything so far. So right now I'm going to ignore this and try to minimize the polygons. Once I'm done with, yeah, just trying to minimize the polygons and triangles there, then I will concern myself with mapping. Okay, maybe we should save this thing here. Red Herman says, fantastic. Thank you so much. So let's call this desk key, and I call it desk key. And let me zoom in here. And if I name something with 0001.Maya ASCII, this part here will be recognized as the serial number, and then I can say in Maya just increase serial and save. So when I'm doing this, save as, I can just say, or what's it called, file, increment and save. Yeah, this makes more sense. Okay, so let's extrude now this part here, and let me just check my reference. Yeah, the edges are a bit round, but oh, thank you so much. I take your applause. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the edges, maybe I should bevel the edges, but yeah, we will see if it's really necessary, or maybe if we can cheat our way around with the shading. So yeah, this part is not as thick as this cylinder here, so we will have some kind of transition there, so maybe like this. So now I will just select the edges, the inside and outside edge, and extrude those downwards. Perfect. And of course I could now do the same thing on the bottom side, and then merge, extrude along the edges towards the center and so on. But I think it would be much easier if I just duplicate it, mirror it, and yeah, sandwich it together quite literally. So one thing is that you've probably noticed is here that those edges here, they look pretty sharp on the inside, on this inside ring. But I can use this mesh display and say soften harden edges. And this thing here just uses a threshold angle. So if two faces are meeting at an angle that is less than 40 degrees, they get smooth. Otherwise, they stay sharp. And this is pretty much the simplest and easiest way to get something like this, where the transitions inside are smooth but still keep the hard edges. Cool. So let me just set my pivot here, duplicate it, and resize it by -1. No, this was not what I wanted. Resize there, -1. I need glasses. Jesus, it's a 4K monitor, and the value that I was looking at is here in this little bar down here. So it's literally, it's like what is this, 10 pixels high when I'm scaling here something where you probably can, yeah, right now it flips there, but in the very bottom left corner you can see some values there, and this is where to look for changes. So yeah, right now I just fuse those together, mesh and merge. Well, first I should combine the mesh, then say edit mesh and merge. Then I can get rid of this center and as well here, and this all saves us polygons or faces. It's pretty much the same thing, but in the end, since as far as I know, GPUs work best or count in triangles, I'm not as much concerned with how many faces I have, but with how many triangles I end up with. So yeah, let's have a look at where this is me and how to make this transition here from this ring to the cylinder. And I think I can just take this ring here, the terminator, if this is correctly called, of the cylinder, and then just squash it down like so. It looks wrong. Okay, then yeah, maybe I should do things differently, because it only affects the faces that are here on top and probably the bottom, and not if they are already here in the right space here on the sides. So I just make this ring here a bit taller, just a little bit, and let's see if it, yeah, it overlaps almost here with those edges here, so maybe we can use this to our advantage. But yeah, let me just take the edge, or you know what, even the vertices of the bottom part here, and just snap them together like this. Same thing here on the bottom part. And the only thing that I need to do is make sure that it somehow fuses with this ring here. Interesting, so I didn't think that this would be probably the hardest part of this endeavor, but apparently here we are. Okay, so I think this is how it should look. I still got this the cap here, which I can safely delete because I won't be needing this. And now I got to insert some polygons here and there and just make sure that everything snaps together. Okay, so yeah, let's try this. So probably I would need more segments here on this part of the ring, but yeah, let's see how far I can make it without. Maybe let's go halfway here and try to snap these things here to the ring part, and of course on the underside as well. And of course I need to insert now some triangles there, because this quad otherwise would be horribly bent. So now this looks a bit better. Probably would have been made more sense to just model the upper half of the key first, and then just reflect everything like I did it with the ring before on the downside. But yeah, right now here we are anyway. So right now it looks a bit weird here. Those edges are black because it's still trying to soften everything. And yeah, yeah, let me snap more vertices together. This one should go here. The problem is that I don't have enough vertices, but yeah, I think this should work also. Like I said, it's only for the inventory screen. It looks wrong. It looks wrong. Maybe I need to snap those to the outside here. Yeah, this looks much better. Somehow this makes more sense. It still looks a bit wrong when you look at it here at an angle, but yeah, I will take care of this later. So I'm just going to snap those together here. So right now I'm producing faces here that are of 0 length. So maybe I shouldn't do this. So let's undo it also on top here. So now you can see what is happening there. Because essentially I'm just stretching this center part here over the other part. My god, modeling, it's a puzzle game. When it comes down to it, it's a puzzle game, and apparently I deleted here too much. Or the wrong one. Undo, yeah, there we go. So let's do this all again, all over again. And Sharks Interactive says, hey Phil, how's it going today? Well, quite good, as you can see, and it's just too hot. Oh, look at this, my ice cubes have already melted. So let's yeah, this looks good. I'm using this exploded view here just to see if any of those faces look weird, but they don't. So I can continue and snap this one to here, this one to the middle. Yeah, essentially I'm just snapping parts from this cylinder, as you can see here, to where it lines up on the ring. Snap and snap. And let's evaluate how it looks. I think this looks almost good. Again, we have some weird kind of bump here, so maybe I will add some more divisions there and try to do things differently here. All the while trying to keep the polygon count relatively down. So okay, I will save this now and try to split this part here. And now I can I can move this vertex down and see that it looks like this carved out piece in my reference here, or a little bit more closely than what I have here. But I mean, we are all familiar with the term code stinks, and I think I've produced something here in terms of a mesh of a geometry stink. But yeah, I'm just trying things out, how they work. Most of the time when you have something that looks weird is where you have convex and concave faces just mixed, where it shouldn't be one or the other. Everything should be convex or concave, or concave. What's the correct English term? And I think this is how it should look like. I would assume. My god, channeling my inner Arnold again. So yeah, I've just added some more triangles there. I mean, it looks like a kite. Concave as in cave. Okay, thanks, Sharks. In German it's concave and convex, so this is why I'm probably saying it wrong all the time. Yeah, don't need those additional triangles. I mean, in the end probably I will need them, but I won't be needing to insert them manually, because when it's transitioning, or when it's being converted for the game geometry, it will be turned to triangles anyway. So all the triangles that I added here myself weren't really necessary. So then I will do the same thing here on the bottom part, perhaps, or like I said, you know what, since I'm not quite sure, I don't recall all the individual steps what I did here on the top part. Yeah, let's delete this here, and then when I'm done with anything that I should need to, for example, get rid of some of those individual polygons here, because we got too many faces for what's it worth. So then I can just reflect it and don't have to do it twice. Yeah, so far I think, you know what throws me off is, let me make those edges here hard, because some of them are soft and some of them are hard. So mesh display harden edge, and let's have a look at this. Yeah, this looks much, it makes more sense. Right now this one vertex here is too far, has moved up too far, and I mean it still looks low poly. but I think since we will look at it probably at this size, I think we should be good. It's pronounced that way in French as well as you said in German. Oh really? Concave and convex, probably. Yeah, this is my very stereotypical baguette eating Frenchman. Yeah, I probably shouldn't do accents, especially not if I'm doing them badly. Okay, so like I said, we got lots of faces here. Let me save this, and you know what? Let me say file, increment, and save, because maybe I need to do things. Yeah, I need to walk some things back. So now I'm just trying to. Well, not I'm trying. I'm selecting here. Maybe you can see it better this way. I'm selecting here edges, which I will be deleting, and see with how little edges I will end up in the end. Yeah, I'm not too good with words. And to see how I can diminish or reduce polygons. So right now we're here at 100 triangles, which I think is already pretty okay. But I probably won't be needing all those edges here, so those I can collapse together to triangles, I hope. It will look a little bit messy now, but yeah, this is when you collapse things to triangles in the end. So this one goes here. I'm not quite sure if I managed to hit the vertex. Sometimes I'm off by a couple of pixels, probably is the correct term. So here, what I can see here, I'm not quite sure if you can see it. Here on this edge here, I got a number of vertices that are still there because I deleted the edges but didn't delete the vertices. So, and internally this of course will be transformed to triangles wherever there is a vertex, even if there is no visible border edge line like I have here, since they all will get converted to triangles in the end. Yeah, you don't see them. This is why you have to be a bit cautious. So I think this is triangulized. This one I also need to make to a triangle. I'm just trying to make triangles or quads. Do I need this here? Yeah, probably I can get rid of this edge and this one and this as well. Then it's probably a bit softer here on this side, but this is okay. Same thing with this one. Edge, did I delete too much? No, this one I could delete. So, yeah, I think, let me just check it here. Doesn't look weird in any way. So I think this is looking good. Then I only have to make sure that it lines up here with this part of the ring. So I will just move this up so that it snaps also here, and make really sure that all those vertices are in the correct position, because right now they aren't yet. There we go, vertex. I hope you can see it because I want to snap this vertex. Apparently it doesn't work when I'm zoomed in, so I have to zoom out again, sorry. And snap. Why can't I snap my vertex? Now I can. Cool. And now I won't be needing, of course, those faces here in the ring. And on the underside, yeah, I will mirror the ring as well. Again, just that everything now is then yeah, homogeneous. That's the word. So yeah, we got the upper side of our key. I'm still not finished here with trying to reduce polygons. So this is what I'll be doing here. So right now I'm just making here triangles out of this cap here. Didn't quite get it. There we go. And yeah, essentially I'm just triangulizing the caps here. I think it is possible to do this automatically, but personally I've always found it a bit well, not easier, but I like to keep the control to know where something happened or which phase got worked on, because sometimes you have to make decisions on where to collapse things. For example, here when I triangulized this part here, I tried to have it more or less symmetrical, that it's not that all those triangles collapse to, for example, to this point here in front. Because if you have two sharp edges on your geometry here, you invite yourself to trouble. And again, this is something that if I can avoid it, then yeah, let's avoid it. So again, going for triangles here, and I got a stray vertex down here. Same thing here. This should become a triangle. This will be triangulized. This one here. Yeah, it's a bit different working, doing 3D graphics or models for games or for VFX projects, because with visual effects, polygon count is not an issue. So you try to make things easier for you. It's like unoptimized code. It's clearer for you to change things or where to change things when performance is not that much of an issue. But then again, of course, for games, I'm cutting myself out of certain possibilities. For example, when I want to bevel a certain edge now, things are going to get a bit difficult because, yeah, I've taken out so many polygons. Okay, so let's have a look here. Let me fuse those two parts of our key together. Mesh combine and edit mesh merge. Almost finding my way around the interface again, because it's a running joke that with every new Maya version the interface gets overhauled in some way or another. At least the menu items, you don't find them where you would think they are. Okay, let's have a look at our triangles, and half a key has 267 triangles, which I think is okay. So when I duplicate this, we probably double it. And just so you know that this is what it's going to look like in the end. But since the only thing that's left for us to do is to do this mirror thing, like I've done just now, just realized that I'm leaning all the way to this side. I will do the mapping of this upper half first, and then I can probably use it for the other side. So right now it says, yeah, triangles of everything is 500. So yeah, I think this is something that we can work with. Save and increment and save. So as for the UV mapping, this is something that some people hate and some others enjoy, and I'm more on the enjoyment side, because to me it feels a little bit like it's zen, and it's also a bit puzzly, because it's like Tetris on 2D, but the pieces never quite fit. And yeah, you can see here where it's not mapped. Here we got a lot of fighting here of overlapping UVs on this part. We got a horrible stretching here, and then for this part here we got not quite sure what we got here. Probably those are all segments or faces in the UV that have zero length. This is why they look weird. But hey, look at this. At least this part here looks nice. So again, with UVs, you want the layout to maximize this quadratic layout that you have. You want to squeeze everything in, but of course you have to make concessions on some certain places, and in the end you try to have as little pieces as necessary, with also as little distortions as necessary, and where you have enough pixels on your texture map where you really need those. In this case of the key, it's not that much of a problem. Like I said here in my gumshoe, in this Unity scene here, for example, like I've told you, this one here has a 4K map, and the resolution of the map is the same here on the bottom as it is on the top, but players probably won't ever be this close to the top as they are to the bottom, so it would make much more sense to have only the lower part here take up the majority of the UV map of the texture pixels you have, and the rest is just a lower resolution because you probably won't notice it anyway. Yeah, just to reiterate this. So how do we map this? First, I will map it just planar from the top. Planar, I think planar is the word. So let me find here UV, planar, there we go. And this is, I always have to think, this is the y-axis in Maya. So map, and if you look at it from the top, of course it looks good, but when you go to the side you can see here yeah, the already weird stretching going on, and also here we don't have any information on the sides. So this of course is not good, but at least for, yeah, just for the overall in terms of texturing, it makes things easier for us. So but only if we work, yeah, from this photograph here, because here we also don't see actually what the sides look like. So of course we have to map those individually. So I'm going to map all those side faces here. Since there aren't that many, I can just click them, yeah, manually. Did I get all? Let me just check here. At least those I got. And here, yeah, this entire ring, of course, and the inside ring as well. Cool. And you can see here in my UV map, well, I hope you can see it. Let me zoom in here. So those faces here have exactly 0 pixels because they are here right on the edges, and this is what causes this stretching problem. You sometimes see this in games where yeah, when something looks good from the front and then you go to the side and it looks like the paint was running down from the texture. And this is something that when I notice it in my stuff, I try to avoid, especially in places where it's likely to be seen. And since this thing here will rotate around in the inventory, yes, inventory is the word, yeah, it would be pretty obvious. So and I'm going to map those things here. Well, how I'm going to map those, I have multiple options there, but I'm going to use automatic mapping, which chooses essentially just different planes from different angles and different axes, and then just chooses the one where the distortion is the least. So I'm just hit automatic mapping, and where is my UV map? Modify Windows, UV editor, there we go. So yeah, those yellow parts here, this is pretty much everything that was on the surrounding sides here. So there is very little distortion, but they are just put there next to each other at the sides. So sometimes this is cool, sometimes this is not what you want. Let me quickly show you here when I use this grid here, how it looks. So far it looks good, but of course there's a lot of overlap going on, and things that are contiguous don't really are, I mean, this yeah, contingency, probably not the right word, is not that something is contiguous here on the model is not always reflected here in the map, and this is something that I usually, when I can, I want to address. So let's first I move here my UVs a little bit outside of the working area so that I'm not overlapping anything by accident. So let's find out where what things are. So this shell here is this part of the ring. So probably it would be easier if I just have it like a string completely surrounding this part here. So I just can say, yeah, I want those individual shells here of UVs. In practice, it's those 5 here. I want to merge them at the edges together. And the cool thing is when I'm just hovering over an edge here, all the other edges that are connected to it are also highlighted, and also you don't only see it in the editor, but also there in the 3D view, which I think is pretty neat. So yeah, let's stitch those together. Let me just find my UV toolkit. There I can say cut and sew, stitch together. There I have also the sew, I think sew is the right pronunciation. I was corrected in my last stream that I was saying it wrong. So, and you can see the problem here is this thing is like a, it's like a ribbon that goes all the way around it. But now it's pretty long and it extends like twice the size of our size of the height of the UV map, and this might be problematic. But I just keep going, stitching everything together so that I know how long it will be in the end. And then this is like almost 3 times the amount that we can set aside for it. If I scale it down, of course, it's just this very thin ribbon, and this means the texture resolution on the side won't be stellar. So it would be much easier if I find a good excuse or a good point where I think maybe I can cut this apart and then have it next to each other. Cursey Boo says, so is right. So yeah, thank you so much. Wink, wink. My God, my dad jokes are strong with me tonight. Okay, so yeah, I'm not quite sure if I want to cut actually. So I just keep it as it is, but apparently I also have made a bit too, I was a bit too overzealous with this, because this part here, this face of the key is also there. So maybe I can cut it after all. In this part here, just cut. And now this shell here is an individual shell again, so I can move it aside and make this strip here a bit larger. So of course I will do the same thing here for the inside of this ring. And since I already know that I'll of course will be copying it, reflecting it, and then merging it together. So those things, of course, I need to consider here in my UV map as well. So this will be then twice as wide when this is done. So let's stitch this inner part here together as well. Stitch together. This one, stitch together. And here. Cool. So this shell here is the inside of this ring. Scale it down. Again, I'm going to position it just very roughly, like I said, because I'm still going to mirror everything together. So now this part here of the ring, I think, of the shaft, of the barrel, I think this would be much nicer if I have it not here as individual strips, but instead of just an unwrapped cylinder in a sense. So this is why I'm going to select them like this and do half a cylinder mapping, because right now we can see here it's from the top, it's nice, but then we got still a couple of faces that are not connected. So let me go here, UV and cylindrical mapping, apply, and now we have here a cylinder that is positioned quite incorrectly. So I need to rotate this thing like so, and just that this mapping projection cylinder matches with sorry for the mouse, roughly matches the geometry that we have. And right now it does. Let me zoom out and see how it looks here in the UV map. This is the cool thing when you're here playing around with the actual projection. You can see it updated live here in the UV editor as well. So yeah, this looks good. I think this is cool. We have a good chunk, good well-sized chunk of this part here. So I just move it aside. And yeah, pretty much this thing here. So this is just one part that we've mapped from the top side, which is cool. And now all those individual parts here, I think they would make the most sense again, probably if they are just like this one strip that we have here before with the ring inside and outside. Again, I'm not quite sure if this is the way to go. Yeah, apparently it's pretty much everything that I have here. So just say stitch together, and of course it does not work if I'm stitching together these things here. So yeah, I'm just stitching together, and you can see it gets a bit crooked because the projection of the automatic mapping was to minimize distortion. Sometimes it's better, or there is less distortion if you look at it something from a slight angle, and also here those faces are not completely flat, at least not from this perspective. So this is why we get this wonderful, yeah, crooked strip here. But this is pretty cool because now we got much less pieces, much less littler pieces. This also doesn't sound right. Yeah, not as many pieces as before. Like I said, yeah, if I'm not too happy with how this is, probably going to be a little bit problematic in the end when I'm in Photoshop there, because I mean here you can see it looks good. There is very little distortion, but it's just crooked. It's just tilted. So and maybe I try to have everything here. You know what? Let's also do this. Let's also make a cylindrical mapping here so that everything is on the same line. So again, UV cylindrical mapping. There we go. And yeah, this is our cylinder. I can make it a bit bigger. And of course rotate it, but so far this looks much better. Let's see how the distortion is. Yeah, it's a little bit distorted in some places here, but I think this is not as problematic since this is not going to have any kind of text on it or other graphics. It's just some kind of greasy metal, so I think it shouldn't matter, and it makes things much easier in Photoshop because now I don't have to transform my metal texture, whatever it will be in the end, to match up with this strange what's the word, facing. But this part here, this is pretty planar, so I can just use a planar mapping from the, what is the red axis here? This is always my little helper. So the red axis is X. So I can project from the X axis and get this part here with little to no extortion. I wanted to say. What's the word? Distortion. There we go. So planar mapping along the X axis, apply. And yeah, now it looks good, but it is a mirror image. And last time I've learned from a watcher, which was very helpful to point out to me, anything that is red in this view here means that something is flipped, which is of course what I don't want. But now it's very easy for me to really identify where the normals are flipped. For example, this one here. So I just go to UV toolset, say transform, and then say scale or even flip. And there we go. Everything is good again. And is this one as well flipped as well? I don't think so, but when something is red, it usually means there is some kind of, something fishy going on. So if I delete one face here, it's still there because I'm not quite sure why I have here this overlapping of blue and red. Usually this means that there are two faces on top of each other, which would be very problematic. Let me undo this. Okay, so of course, so there is one face here in the background that is two faces that trying to recreate this torus, this thing where everything connects with everything else here in 2D, and apparently this, of course, this does not work. Again, thank you for pointing this out to me. Red faces. Okay, so I will of course cut this, the problematic edge here, cut tool, and also cut this one here, and then I will stitch this together, but not in a way, this was wrong, that there is no overlap going on. This is exactly what I wanted to avoid. You have to really have to be very careful. So UVs, I want my UV shell. This is not what I want, UV shell. This is good. No, I apparently didn't want the shell. I want my edge, and I want to cut this edge here. Or I could use the cut tool. This would also make sense. UV shell. So now I only have selected those two problematic and very stretched faces. So those I need to just scale them down, that they roughly match the size of the other faces here, like so. And of course they are red, which means they are flipped. I'll flip them back, which looks good. And now I'm just making their UVs to match the other UVs. Why can't I snap them? Why won't you allow me to snap them? Never mind. I just say just use the align and snapping tools, which are perfect for exactly that. Snap those together, and then I will only try and stitch one thing here together. And this wonderful, this alleviated this problem here. Cool. Again, like I said, I leave some space here for the back side. And what's the matter with this, or with these couple of red flags here, literally? So if I just move them here apart, of course, so those are flipped. Those got flipped, which is not good. So I flipped them again. They aren't red anymore, but they are still overlapping, it seems. And you really want to avoid overlapping UVs. So this, my way of going about it with the, what's the word? Not spherical mapping, cylindrical mapping, produced some UV overlap here, which is, like I said, is not good. So if I move this up, and I mean, since I got here a couple of individual shells, it's not that big of a deal. I just need to, essentially just distribute them manually, so that they, this one seems to be a bit of a problem because everything is connected to the leg bone, but not this. Okay, good. There's a lot of overlap going on here, as you can see what's happening there. Let me just zoom in. This is how it looks in my UV map, and this is not good. So I will probably cut it here at this edge and then stitch it together manually. But first I have to identify where this edge is, and okay, it is this one here. So cut tool, well, not the cut tool, just cut. You probably wouldn't have thought that this UV mapping stage would take this long, but this is the wonderful world of 3D modeling. UV mapping takes usually much longer than you would assume it would take. So finally I can stitch those together here, and when I say edge and stitch together, then they will just be stitched at an angle, which is good in terms of distortion, but is bad in terms of how I like things in Photoshop. Like I said, I just want this one strip that I can apply metal texture over. So instead I do it manually, and instead of stitching together, I just sew them together. Thank you. And this got rid of the problem, but of course you pay for it with a little bit more distortion then. Just to show you how this distortion then looks. Where were we? Yeah, here you can see where I'm trying to have something that has like this trapezoid shape, and I'm forcing it to have straight lines on both edges. Yeah, this probably will have the same problem here. So to get, oh wow, this I didn't anticipate. Apparently I selected something else. So yeah, doesn't look too bad actually. So yeah, almost got it. Still got here some fragments on this side, but then we're good. Just copy it over, move the UVs around a little bit further, stitch together. You know what? I will just stitch them all together at whatever angle they prefer, and then in the end just rotate and move everything up that it's roughly at the same, selected too much, that it's roughly at the same level. Yeah, a lot of manual labor there. Of course, I could employ some more algorithms to help me with this. There are some distribution things to help, but like I said, in the end, I prefer doing it manually so I know where the problems are, because if you rely too much on an algorithm doing the thing for you, it's like with AI upscalers, and I've had my share of those. Yeah, you can't quite tell where a problem might crop up or how to solve it, because like I said, usually you're not really aware that there actually is a problem. So okay, now the last thing that I'm trying now is, let's make this a bit darker here that I can see it better. Like this. The last thing that I will do is try to straighten those lines, those transitions, and closely observe how the distortion is going to be affected, because my guess is that it's going to be not as much or not as badly. The problem, as you can see here, is where we have a triangle. So yeah, how to do it with this so that you get the least amount of distortion. And yeah, there is no right way of doing things, so sometimes you have to eat a little distortion. But again, it's always a matter of where can we take some distortion, where it's okay because nobody's going to notice it anyway, and at other times where it's, oh my god, there it is just too pronounced, too obvious. So there, it's essentially it feels like you're just trying to sweep some things under the rug, and depending on where people are, where your guests, where you entertain your guests, maybe you can sweep some more under the rug in certain rooms than in others. So yeah, I think this is sufficient. Let's go with sufficient. And finally, of course, I want to, this part here, I also want to have it connect to this part here. So I'm going to scale it up, or you know what, maybe not, because when I keep it like so, where is this thing here? I'm just considering to split up this ribbon again, just to have more wiggle room. But yeah, you know what, I will keep it like it is now, everything, and move everything that it is in this vicinity here, and now save, increment and save, and now I can duplicate this and reflect it. Again, I have to look very closely at this number here. I think there we go. So before stitching everything together, right now the UVs are overlapping. Sometimes you want this, especially if you have, for example, a repeating facade of buildings where you don't want, where it's okay if pretty much every window looks the same. You see this in last generation console games. Personally, I really don't like it if I can spot repetition, and especially with this little key, it's not that big of a problem to have a different map on one side than on the other, or at least not the exact same. So this is why I pick now here the bottom part and move my UV shell, for example, up here. And now when I have selected both, yeah, since this is reflected, I think also the UVs need to be reflected. So pretty much on this new part here, I think I can safely flip all the UVs. But yeah, now I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it says it is wrong and incorrect. But here the one looks, it doesn't look, yeah, like it's a mirror image. And also here, the V1, this is always how I make sure that something looks right. Yeah, it looks right. It looks right. That's the thing here. I think the normals might be flipped now that I moved it around. So let me just quickly see if probably this is what happened. Object display, no. Render stats, double-sided, the opposite, no. Apparently, since maybe I need to freeze the transformations. Now, yeah, now everything is good. Because yeah, it's like it knew that it was reflected, and then I've reflected it again to have it look right. But since the source object was a mirror image of something, this is where the problem was, that it essentially it thought because I mirrored it twice, it only knew that I mirrored it once. I think this is the gist of it. Okay, so yeah, this UV shell. Again, I'm just trying to move those things apart and see where I can stitch them together. So this part, of course, I can't stitch them together just now because they aren't part of the same object. So combine and merge. And now it should be much easier. Yeah, because now those are considered to be objects or faces of the same object. So stitch together, and now I got here, this shell is the entire wrapped cylinder here of this shaft, so which is good. So I can move it just up a little bit so that it's not a problem here, that it's not overlapping with something that I need. Same thing here, I can just fuse those two parts here together, stitch together, and now I got a wonderful, perfect recreation of this one. This is cool, this I like, this is what I can work with. Same thing here, I'm just taking the bottom part here and say stitch together, and wonderful. I really much enjoy it when a plan works as intended. Stitch together. Now it's here, and this one I can also stitch together. Probably not. This is let's undo this. I wasn't paying attention to here, and yeah, I invited myself to a lot of problems. So yeah, I should of course stitch the parts together on the inside of the ring. Yeah, this makes much more sense and looks much cleaner. Stitch together. Wonderful, so we have here the mapping of our key from both sides. The only thing that I need to do now is to squeeze all those individual parts into one of those quadratic maps. And you know what, let's save it again. And then we can do the fun part, the texturing and shading, after 1.5 hours. I'm really sorry. I thought this would be a bit faster. So again, you want to have as little parts as possible, while at the same thing you also want as little distortion as possible, while also you want to have enough pixels or fidelity of pixels for pretty much everything that you would need that's important. So where is the one here? This says UV, so I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes I move it around here in the UV map, as you've seen here, so that I can see the numbers on the UV map here reflected on the actual faces, so that I know maybe, I mean, right now I know that it's not a mirror image, but if it's rotated by 180 degrees, I only really see it here on the model. So, and for mapping purposes, of course, it's much easier if it is, yeah, not not a mirror image or not rotated. Okay, so I think we should be relatively good. I can say normalize to get everything, to make everything fit. Normalize this, normalize that. Right now it just stacks, but then I can say unstack, arrange and layout. Unstack shells, and now they are perfectly fitting and not overly taking up space or too little space. This is a problem, especially with when you have holes. You want to use as many pixels as you can, since they all cost precious video memory. So gather shells, stack and orient. Well, probably not orient, stack shells, because then, as you've seen it, some are tilted by weird angles, and this I don't like. Like I said, in Photoshop I want to make things easier for me, so I say unstack shells, and this worked kinda, but not quite. So those are parts of the key. So maybe one is this one here. Maybe I can rotate one by 90 or 180 degrees so that they don't take up too much space here. This part here, this is pretty important. So I will try to give it a bit more space there on the UV map. Also, it's a bit distorted. So yeah, I think this should suffice. And now with the ring, these outside parts here, probably they also need to be a bit bigger, just in comparison. Than, for example, those parts. Watching you obsess over every little bit of performance makes me feel like a bad dev. No, it's really, it's okay. It's just, I mean, to me this is more like a sport, is where I can fiddle out just a bit more, or I can reduce one polygon that's probably not going to spill over or be relevant in the end. But like, yeah, I like puzzle games, and as you can see, to me this is like a huge fun puzzle game, and the thing is, it's always imperfect. As you can see, you probably hardly see anything, especially if it's even remotely organic or rounded or curved, to have a perfect fit there on the UV map. So yeah, it's not you, it's me. So cool, so I've made good use there of the holes. I can move this aside a bit, and this one rotate by 90 degrees. And that's a bingo! Wonderful! So I'm quite happy with the UV map. Let me just quickly check and to see if there are any weird stretch marks. Where the checkerboard looks weirdly distorted, maybe here a bit on the side, but I think this is okay. Then polygons look good. I don't see any problems there in terms of the mesh. The only thing is here, when I'm fused those things together, there is now a hard transition line, so I just select everything and say mesh tools, where do I have it? Surface display, mesh display, soft and harden edges. And now it looks worse. Okay, so I need to do this manually, so I'm just going to select, yeah, pretty much the entire fringe here, this edge across. Just let me check if I caught everything. How is it here? Yeah, probably not. So yeah. Yeah, this entire seam, you know what? Maybe I can delete this, because we probably don't need it, since it's a reflection and everything is... So yeah, maybe let's try this. Right now we got 534 triangles, and if I delete this, the only thing that I lost here is a bit of the curvature in the beard. Again, I'm not quite sure, this front part of the key, but apart from that, Yeah, this one, there is a mapping problem now, but now we are down to 444, which is cool. So you know what, let's undo this. And the only things, the only instances here where I keep this, this seam is actually at this part where I want the curvature to remain. Let me check here. Yeah, so this part needs to stay, and yeah, this one, this can go, this can go, and yeah, essentially also those on the sides here can go. Wonderful. Saves us polygons or triangles. And yeah, now I only need to add some more triangles because I made things a bit worse. So like this. Yeah, I'm not saving that many triangles. So, yeah, you know what? Apparently, let's undo this. I think I need those here on the sides. Otherwise, they... I mean, I need to add some more triangles then again. And then all our precious mapping would have been not for naught, but yeah, again, still a bit tweak worthy. So this is why I just keep it as it is now. This can go. Yeah, maybe I can diminish here the stretching a little bit when I insert here some more triangles vertically. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Let's say it's okay. But now we got here, of course, because I took out here this part. Yeah, this is bad because I need here. Actually, I would need to re-triangulate this part here now. Undo. You know what? Let's keep most of this seam here, but I will just get rid of it in the grip part, in this ring part here. So maybe, yeah, but you never know if you don't try, right? So and also on the inside edge here. And look at this, nothing bad happened to our UV layout, which is good. We still reduced some polygons and triangles here, and we're still at 412 polygons or triangles for this object. It's good. Kirsibu says beard ? Yes, in German, this part here of a key, this where you got all the grooves and edges there, this is called the beard. Don't know why. Maybe this is just some old medieval locksmith term, but yeah, there we go. So this is why I called this the beard. And I wanted to smooth, of course, this was what my intention was in the beginning, to smooth this edge here. So now, yeah, I stop messing around with this. I'm good with this. So let's save this here, and I will delete all its history, construction history. So now I only have one thing, and I call it desk key A. This is nice when you have just in your hierarchy just one mesh object. This is good. So then, of course, before trying to map everything, I said now I'm going to scale it. And our size for this thing is, what is it? 35 millimeters by 25 millimeters. And for this, I just create a cube of the respective size. Yeah, let's make it just a bit flat. And yeah, and then I'm just trying to scale my key roughly to this size. So since this is in meters, so this is the height. Yeah, let's go with 001. This should be 1 centimeter high. And the width, this was the long part. This was 3 centimeters and 5 millimeters. And the other one was 1.125. I really enjoy the metric system because it's just divisions or multiplications by 10, and it's really simple. So yeah, this is now many times too big. This was, yeah, I probably shouldn't use the step here, so I'm just going to scale it freeform. So now that it roughly fits into this bounding box here, and look at this, it's tiny. It's tiny. It's a cute little key. So again, I'm going to save it. And Lady Mr. Leaf, oh, she's still there. Thank you so much for dropping by. And it was interesting seeing how much work goes into making and optimizing a 3D object. It probably don't have to spend this much work on it, but yeah, you know me, I like to do. So yeah, finally, I really just noticed that, this is why I want to avoid having it scaled too far in. The beard part, I still need to get those things here smoothed. Finally, surfaces. No, this was not the surface. This was the mesh display and soften edge. And there we go. Yeah, I won't be tinkering with the geometry any further. Just going to save it, because now it's the fun part is the texturing and mapping, and I'm going to show you a very cool tool to generate normal maps and roughness maps, pretty much any other map that you would need. It's a good starting point. It's not entirely a one-stop shop, but it's 75% stop shop, which is still cool with me. So, okay, let's first that I know how to to texture this. In Photoshop, I need this UV map, and for this I just select the object, and in my UV map I say image and say UV snapshot. And right now I have here my settings at 4K, because usually my maps are 4K maps, but I think for this key I can go with 1024. So this is going to be a 1K map. But probably when I'm in Photoshop I will scale it up anyway, because downscaling a texture is easy. So I always start out with a texture map that is too large, and then in the end I can always scale it down. So prop source images, where do I put it? Setups Photoshop, desk key A, and I call this desk key A UV. Apply and close, override. So apparently it was already written, and now we're in good old Photoshop. So let me bring up now the UV map that we just created. Of course, after clicking a link that leads to a network thing, and now the Explorer is frozen until it resolves this network timeout thingy. You there? Cool. So setups Photoshop, desk key A, and there is our UV map. Yeah, it's pretty hard to see. First thing that I do is I create a new adjustment layer, or a new fill layer, because my name is Phil. Layer, new fill layer, solid color, just for the background, and it's usually black, and on the bottommost level there, that's the word. Okay, so one thing that I usually do, because I'm a sucker for for quality, and since I work a lot with digital images, and I always get problems when you're working too much with something and have too little precision, you start losing fidelity. And this is my introduction to. Right now this is 8 bits per pixel, so 256, 60. I always get the numbers wrong. 265. There we go. 265 levels of gray for each channel. But this is not enough, especially when you're working with something where each individual level is like a visible band or a step. So this is why I always set my textures to 16 bits, image mode 16 bits per channel. I already have a shortcut for this. So next thing is, of course, I do proper naming there. No, I'm here UVs, and I make a new bin, which I call albedo. This is where only the color is. Then I will have a bin for, no, I will save on my computer. Thank you, Adobe. And this is just desk key A, and I can save it. Okay, so how about the texture? How do we go doing the texture. One thing that we could do is, where do I have my reference? I've closed my reference, of course I have, no I have not, is to just use the photo of this and use this as the texture. But there's a problem, especially with things like metals, because they are reflective. And the other thing is, that's not only innate to metals, is you got a light direction. And here, I mean, this part here, of course, has the light coming in. This part here. No, what did I do? The other part is too dark, and so on and so forth. But at least we can use it as a reference. I think now I closed it. So instead I try to find something that looks similar in terms of the metalness, but without this kind of lighting baked in, essentially. Yes, now the problem is where to get this. Usually for years, almost decades, not almost decades, effectively decades, I've been running around and photographing stuff, and over the years I've collected a bunch of textures. Let me just see if I can find it. Leather textures seamless. Oh, this is nice. Wood, walls, dirt, space. I got finger smudges. This is quite nice. Yeah, for metals where you just need some fingerprints on it and smudges. But this is not what I want. Let me just see if I can find the one thing that I actually wanted to find. That is metal. But apparently, oh right, I recall. I remember now. Since I reset up my system and I had the folder of the playouts of all my photos of the textures, I had it sitting on the desktop. So this is a bit problematic. So just looking around for anything that we could use as metal. Or you know what, let's be lazy. Let's be lazy and take a picture from the web, because yeah, I can't be bothered. Okay, so let me go to unsplash.com. Why unsplash.com, you might ask? And the reason for this is that you can use the photos for your projects, even commercial ones, without without paying a stock library fee or anything. I mean, this is just a wonderful community, and as you can see here when I'm just scrolling through, the quality of the photos artistically is pretty high, and you just can search by a tag, and I just go with metal. Of course we will find some artistical interpretations of metal, but let's take this one here, and now I'm scrolling, just window shopping for good metal. But again, it's more in terms of artistic artistry. But maybe this kettle metal could work. No, probably not. It's a little bit too there is too much light, too much information about the light source. This looks like a very, very good texture. And the other place where to find textures, if you really can't find any on your own or on Unsplash, is deviantart.com, because the amount of just artistry on this side is just staggering. And you can search for, let's go, metal texture. The cool thing is, it feels to me like a place from artists for artists. So it's not just like ArtStation where you show off your amazing graphics, but it's also where people make like here, 7 metal brush textures for Photoshop, metal seamless textures. So it's also a place where you can go for resources for your art. And most of the things you can also get for free. All you have to do is give credit or write people some nice comments. But always make sure that it says here, Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. So should I be using this, I make a note that I used this by who was this person? By divsm-stock in the creation of my game. So Creative Commons doesn't mean you can just take it. It really means something. So attribution means it's really not too hard to ask. And this one here, I'm back now on Unsplash. I don't have to credit the people, but it would be nice if I did. And the cool thing about Unsplash as well is that the size is pretty huge of most of the pictures. So I probably won't be needing even the large one. Again, this is just, I will just take a screenshot now just grab a slice and use it, because again, we don't need this big paste. I said paste. Why won't you paste? Apparently I didn't copy it to the clipboard. Let's try again. Yeah, but again, it would be nice to give credit, but you don't have to. Copy to clipboard. Maybe let's try it this time, and now it works. So this texture is even bigger than anything that we have here. So I convert it to a smart object. Smart objects, I already have shortcut for this. The cool thing about smart objects is you can scale them down and scale them up again, because they the original size is still stored and they are just displayed at a smaller resolution. So you don't lose anything if you scale something up again that you scaled down. So, okay, the next thing is, this looks a bit too rusty. Not rustic, but rusty. So I just set the saturation to something that it looks a little bit like brass. Maybe like so. And you know what, let's try this. I will just save it as a desk key. Just make sure to disable my UV map that I have on top, that the grid lines don't show up. And let's go to Maya and load this as our texture, and then we will see where there are problems, because I'm pretty sure that there will be. So I open up my, where do I have it? Oh, there's the chat, which I almost closed. No, there we go. Frank says it's the non-commercial ones you have to be careful about. Everyone seems to have a different definition of what this actually means. Yeah, I've heard, not from personal friends or anything, but I think I've read somewhere on Twitter where someone was really burned by something that was as or non-commercial, and they used it for their portfolio, and the original artist was being a dick about it and said, yeah, but now you make money from it because you used it in your portfolio. Something along those lines. Yeah, it's really, in the end, it depends on who's asking, and yeah, and who's deciding upon the definition of, is this commercial or non-commercial. Again, if you can, the easiest part is that costs money is, of course, just go through stock databases or texture databases. I think textures.com, you can download a couple of textures per day, but you have to get registered there, which is not that big of a problem. But of course, yeah, they just collect data and so on. Or the best thing is if you can go out and photograph textures on your own, because this also helps you in the end to know, to really tell a good texture, a usable texture from a bad one, because you've made all the mistakes yourself already. So I create here a new material. Doesn't really matter which one. I create a new Arnold material because this is what I'm used to by now. So Arnold, by the way, is the renderer in Maya. So it's an Arnold standard surface. And also I think in Unity you can, in the high definition render pipeline, when you create a new, let me try here, a new material, you can even say here for this shader to use the Arnold standard surface shader there, which tries to recreate this one here in Maya. But yeah, usually I'm not using anything specific about this anyway. So yeah, let's grab our color file. So just that we see how it looks, or where the problems might be. Props, setups, Photoshop, desk key A, Photoshop. So yeah, this is the texture, and so far it looks like a greasy old key. Actually, it looks pretty okay, I have to say. It looks pretty okay. The only thing that is not reflected is any kind of wear and tear. It's probably more wear. So yeah, it looks like what it is, pretty much like a projection from the top. So you don't really see anything that, for example, the edges, oh my god, since it's so small, the scale in the scene, it's really hard to get a good to scrub around it easily, because it's just too sensitive. Yeah, for example, this arch here might have a little bit more of more wear and so on. So I will try to simulate this now by painting it in Photoshop. And there are of course tools where you can paint directly on the texture. I think you can do this of course in ZBrush, in Mudbox I think. Then there are I think Substance Painter is another tool for this. Yeah, I don't have the licenses for those. So all I do is do it very much old-fashioned. As you can see, I'm just seeing here, okay, this part in my UV map, this is the one I want. Okay, so where is the transition to the other one? So it's this part here, and now I know. I head back to Photoshop and draw this in manually. So I just make a new layer here on top and pick a color. I said I pick a color, and what is my brush? Oh, look at this. This brush already looks pretty good. So I just start painting in here along the edges, because the edges I think are most likely the parts where even the metal gets a little bit, well, not rubbed off, but more or less rubbed smooth. And I will just try it and paint over like this, because in the end this is also when we have maps, for example the smoothness and so on, this will also be affected by smoothness. Yeah, just to make the edges a little bit more pronounced, because like I said, otherwise it really looks like you're just wrapping a texture or even a wallpaper over something without any regards to how this thing got used, where it would make sense that it's a little bit more rubbed off or anything. This is, at least as I've learned it, is to make anything that's CG, make it a little bit more dirtier, or more dirty, not more dirtier, more dirty than it would be in the real world, even if it's something that is supposed to look very new and clean. Just give it some more blemishes than necessary than you would have it to make it appear more realistic. So this was this part here, and then part here on the key. And I'm thinking of, oh god, where is it? There. Maybe also, oh god, it's just so sensitive. Also here on this part, that it's maybe I mean, I always think about how you use things, or would use things in 3D, or that are modeled in 3D. So you would of course grip this key here on this ring. So this one might be already a little bit rubbed off, and then of course you poke it with this side into the lock. So this one of course gets the most wear. So this is why I'm also making these edges here. I make it even my brush here even a bit bigger, just to make sure that this has seen the worst. Yeah, like this. And maybe some of the teeth. But yeah, no, you know what, I will just leave it as it is, and I will try now to save it. Sometimes Maya complains that the file is in use, and let's see how it looks. Yeah, it looks a bit better, but oh my god, you can see here it's kind of obvious now that this transition here is a bit too sharp. Maybe here on the side, on the ring, it's too small, or too subtle, or too homogeneous. So I might blur the entire thing a bit more, and make here this part where the cylinder here meets the extrusions there, maybe give it a little bit more dirt. So essentially this would mean on this part here in the UV map. So yeah, with me, you've noticed it's a back and forth. So I will filter and blur what I did just now, maybe like so, and then see, yeah, just call this wear, and the other I might call grunge. There we go. And take something with a bit of a darker appeal, like this. like I said, just to give it a bit more depth and more contrast, that it really feels like, yeah, this thing has seen some usage. So might even make the teeth here, the beard, the teeth of the key, I think it's called teeth in English, make those a bit darker and worn. And yeah, on the upside, yeah, you know what, I will try maybe make the ups and down sides of the key here a bit softer, and also here on where you hold the key, right, I try to give it a bit less contrast by just painting over all those specks and dirt that is here present in the texture. Okay, so this is the texture with my adjustments and without, so you can see, just to give it a little bit more of character. So I will save it and have it update here, and looks better, I have to say. Looks a bit better at a distance. Yeah, this transition I don't like. At this part here, because there it's just too bright and there it's dark on the cylinder. So yeah, this does not work. But yeah, you really can see that it would be much easier if I would just go about doing this in a tool where I can really just paint it on. I think also Blender, I mean, Blender does pretty much anything nowadays. So I think I would assume Blender also does this. So maybe this was a bit too strong here. And add some more of this, then go back. And should I add some more gunk or stuff to this part here? Yeah, let's try this. I make it, give it a bit more contrast where needed. Well, I hope. And also there on the side of this ring, on the outside at least. No, this was the wrong color. I make it a bit less. Yeah, give it a bit less. And on the inside, I give it a bit more dirt. And save and try it again. And then I think, yeah, now it updated. It was exactly the other way around. So this one here, the inside is now bright and the outside is now dark, which I mixed up. So yeah, dark here and the outside a bit, yeah, less pronounced, like so. Save. Yeah, this is the old school way, but the good thing is now at least I can update it live when I'm doing something and don't have to save it and re-import it and everything. So yeah, let's have a look at it from a distance. Yeah, this looks a bit better now. I feel this looks quite good actually. The only thing is where this the cylinder part wraps around. There on the back side, you can really see when I'm disabling here the wireframe where yeah, the end of one side is and the other side starts. So apparently I need to make it possible to have this wraparound thing possible. So the problem is, well, it's not so much of a problem. I just take the part of the texture that's down underneath, copy it, paste it, and mirror it, and then have it just softly fade out. Image, mode, layer, there we go, image transform. My god, I usually do this with shortcuts, so let's do it also with a shortcut. So, and now I just softly blur it. Again, you have to be very careful if you mirror something, because mirror images are pretty evident. So I save it now, and now this it looks a bit better, but you can still tell because I didn't align it perfectly. So now this is the problematic part where I'm just nudging it around, saving it a bit, and yeah, twice down. Almost there. I mean, probably I won't get it perfect, of course, but I just want it to be not as in your face. I mean, right now here you can really tell that it's mirrored, but I think on this side of the key, I think we can get away with it. I hope. Yeah, I would assume this is okay. So, Marshmallow Thief wrote, I have to go, but thanks for streaming. Yeah, you're welcome, and you probably don't see this because you wrote this 4 minutes ago and already left. But thank you. Maybe you watch this on demand of what you've missed. Yeah, thank you for dropping by. So, okay, cool. I think this should be fine for our diffuse map. The next things that we are going to do is make it a little bit shiny, make it dirty, make it really look like something that it's not made of, of paper or of any non-reflective material. And this is where things I would think get interesting. Because for now, let's save this here. And I will save it also to a PNG file. Desk key A and call it albedo. Albedo. There we go. Cool. There is this wonderful tool that is called Materialize. I'm not quite sure if you have heard of it. Materialize Unity. Because it doesn't cost anything. Yeah, it's from Bounding Box Software. Let me... where's my browser? There it is. So this is what the website looks like, and this is Materialize. You just import a map and then generate from this map all other maps like depth and ambient occlusion and so on. It's, of course, it's not mathematically correct ambient occlusion, but it looks pretty okay. The link to this I put in the chat. There we go. Is boundingboxsoftware.com and /materialize, and you can say get materialize and download, and there we go. This is wonderful because before that I've used, well, I still use, what is it called, Shader Map Pro 4, which I spent a sizable amount of money in the early days. But now with Materialize, you will see how fun this is. And this was also made with Unity, so it's still, I mean, you really, it's more like a you see is what you get approach. So first, when you start, you can already import something. The O means open and the S means save, so you can also save here certain maps that you created. So let's pick our texture map now. I just hit open, and the cool thing about this is that it is really made for people like us. So I just copy my path here from Photoshop, from my save as dialog, and there I can just say paste directory, and there we are. And this is my albedo, and right mouse button and hold and drag. So yeah, this is just the albedo map. And now things are getting to get interesting, because now you can say height map. The next thing you need to create, I mean, you can also create a metallic map, but my workflow is first a diffuse map, then a height map, and from this height map I can make a normal map. So let's create a height map. And yeah, you can probably see where this is going. We have here a slider where we can, there we go, where we can just preview the map here on the material, and then we can use some presets here and essentially tweak the whole thing to our liking. Sometimes you need to be a bit cautious, because all this tool got, of course, is just a pixel and the color value of each pixel. So pretty much anything that's brighter is more likely to be considered to be on the top of something, or to be extruded upwards than downwards. And this is with our usage, like I said, with our rub off, maybe this is not what you want. So, but you can of course tweak this here with these frequency contrast enhancers. So let's go with this and say set as height map. And the thing is, now I can say show full material, and we already got here, when I'm zooming in, this, oh my god, too far, this parallax mapping there. So this is not a normal, but yeah, you really can see where this is going. So normal map, and you create the normal map from the height map. Wonderful. Pre-contrast, you can say smooth or crisp or mids. I always prefer it to be crisp, but very subtle. So the angular intensity, or where was it? Maybe, I think it was default. And then I just turned down the final contrast or something, because with the normal map I don't like it how normal maps change, of course, the normal of light sources. So this is why I use normal maps like that very sparingly in Unity. Just to show you one of my materials, for example, the material for this desk here. Let me switch on the lighting, that you can see how the light source here reacts. So I'm quite happy with how this looks. But the normal itself of this shader here, you can see it here, the normal is at 0.04. Because if I change it, let's see what happens here to this highlight. It doesn't look right anymore, because of course, since it affects the normal, it also moves this highlight around. And sometimes this doesn't line up where the actual highlight should be. So this is why, again, I just have it very sparingly, just that it has some kind of depth perception or perceivable depth. But most of the thing that really makes it look, that gives it this kind of texture is well, of course, the albedo map, but then the smoothness map. So this is, let me just say, show full material. And we got here some peaks. I'm not quite sure if I like this, but we will see it in Unity then, and then we can still, of course, tweak the maps. So I just say, let's where is my? I didn't use the normal map, did I? So let's say set as normal map and then show full material. So now we got this here with the normal map, and already looks pretty cool. So, and of course the metallic map, this is especially helpful if you have something like a wood with nails in it, where of course you only want the nails to have this metallic map. Right now, since this is pretty much all metallic, I still need a metallic map to be to tell which aspects are just gunk and grease and aren't actually the metal, but it's just the worn aspect of the metal, which of course should be less metallic than the rest. So metallicness is a value from 1 to 0, and we'll have it like this, so that nothing on this key, because it's so worn and old, nothing really reflects, or maybe the bright parts that we have drawn, if you recall, for the edges, maybe this reflects a bit more. So let's say set as metallic and show the full material. And the last thing is, of course, the smoothness map, which I create here, also from the metallic map. So in this case, smoothness is a little bit misleading, or as Unity uses it, it's more like the brighter something is, the less smooth it is, the more clearly it reflects. So pretty much anything that is white here will have a very sharp outline of the highlight, and the darker it gets, the more diffuse and less smooth it gets. So I will try now to have it not too shiny, maybe just some spots that are shiny, because it's a pretty worn key. And in the end, in Unity, you can tweak those settings as well anyway. And set as smoothness and show full material. And this is our gunky, dirty material. We probably won't use all of the maps as is, but at least, I mean, look at this. It didn't cost us anything. This tool is open source, and I'm really quite smitten with it. So how to save those things now? There are two ways to do this. One thing is, the first thing that I do is I always save to PNG files. Not when I'm zoomed in. There we go. Let me try this again. So as PNG files, and then of course the downside is I can't save to my dear 16 bits per pixel precision, which is for normal maps a little bit problematic, but since I'm using them you've seen it, just very sparingly, it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes it can be, where you really where you can see transitions between when you have a very smooth gradient and it looks like stairs or steps. So to save those maps, you can click in individual and just hit the S button and then provide a file name, or you can say save project, and then it saves, I think it's a JSON file, and let me just bring up here the folder where everything is stored, and it automatically saves all the maps to disk. in my case, it takes a little bit. So let me find this here. So yeah, this is my folder right now with the albedo that we provided and the UV map. And let me just switch it over to thumbnails. So when I say save project that you of course can open, I just call this desk key A, enter. And then you can see here, it has saved all my maps individually, which is wonderful. Now, how to get those to work with Unity, because we still need, I also want to bake an ambient occlusion map, because of course you can create an ambient occlusion map with this one here, but my problem is that I always have my ambient occlusion maps, I bake them from the original geometry. And yeah, this is one last thing that shouldn't take us long. And then we can continue completely in Photoshop and especially Unity to get this look good and to wire it up. So this shouldn't take as long. So how to bake occlusion? There are multiple tools that allow you to bake occlusion. I think Unity occlusion, because they're on in the docs even they tell you occlusion culling, no occlusion map. They name a couple of tools with which we can use to bake occlusion maps, but apparently not on the one that I'm looking at. Yeah, anyway, there are tools for you to bake occlusion, and my tool of choice is of course Maya. One thing when it doesn't apply to this key, but for example when I'm baking the occlusion for some furniture or so, I create a plane for it to stand on. Otherwise it would be lit equally from all sides, and yeah, when you rarely have the occasion of any kind of furniture that's just suspended in midair and being lit from all sides like it was floating in the sky. Usually it stands on something on the ground, and this is why it doesn't get as much light from the bottom, for example. But since this key is supposed to be held in your hand, I don't need any of those trappings. Okay, so for me in Maya it's pretty simple of how to do this. Once you know how to do this, I just bring up here my material editor, and for Arnold I make a new shader AI ambient occlusion and have it here as a material that I can just drag onto my object. Wonderful. I select my object, well, save, you never know, and there on top I have Arnold and utilities and bake, no, not bake, render selection to texture. And it opens, there we go, this little window here, so I can say my resolution is 1024 and anti-aliasing and so on, so just overriding the values of the shader, and then it bakes pretty much to what you have set as the texture. And then since this is the ambient occlusion, it will bake the ambient occlusion. Of course you have to have it mapped to UVs before. So let's find the folder, setups Photoshop, desk key A, occlusion. There we go. Oh yeah, it wants a folder, because if you have multiple objects selected, it names it individually for each object that you have selected. So I hit render and hope for the best. Usually down here we should see some kind of render bar, but I think because I haven't rendered anything today, at least in this boot cycle, I think it needs to load up the Arnold renderer in the background first and then does the rendering. But in the meantime, let me show you how we combine all those individual maps. I mean, right now we have a pretty many different maps. Okay, so now it's starting to do the rendering. We got a couple of maps. We got the occlusion map, the it crashed, send crash report. Okay, so no occlusion map for us today because reasons. Yeah, I'm really sorry, but it might have to do with something that I have so many things open at the same time and also streaming. So so this might be the problem. Sharks Interactive asked me a couple of minutes ago, and because I have the OBS occluded, the chat occluded by all those palettes there and windows that I've opened, what my thoughts on GIMP versus Photoshop are. My thoughts are, I don't know GIMP, I haven't used GIMP before. Some people that are religiously pro GIMP and anti Photoshop and vice versa. All I can say is I've worked with Photoshop since 1998 and it is my tool of choice, but please use whatever you're most comfortable with. For me, it's just Photoshop because it's, yeah, what I've been using for. But yeah, I don't know about the drawbacks of GIMP versus Photoshop, but one big drawback of Photoshop is you have to pay for it monthly. And yeah, this might be, especially to some people, it's a good enough reason to really take the plunge and invest some time to get started on a different software that doesn't cost you anything or not as much. In Unity, you get all those different maps combined in one or two maps. For example, well, you know what? First, I still need Maya because I haven't exported the model yet. So maybe we should give this another try and see maybe it works a second time, but first we export the model. In the meantime, let me show you how Unity, in this case, my material for this little desk here, how this is set up while Maya constantly keeps stealing the focus. Thank you, Maya. The maps that I got here are essentially just three maps. It's this base map, it's the albedo, it's the normal map, and it's this weird mask map. And with the mouse over, you can already see what it does. It's a combined mask where the metallicness, as you recall, is just a value between 1 and 0. We don't have any color information. And RGB alpha, so we got usually 4 channels per image file, so we can use just one map for the metallicness. There's a mosquito. Then, of course, we can use another map that's also just from 1 to 0 for the ambient occlusion. Same goes for detail mask. If you want to use a different or an additional texture just for details, and for smoothness. So you can essentially pack 4 one-dimensional maps into this one image. So let me just open my desk key and then see that we can bring it all to Unity. So in Maya, there is this wonderful option that you can say send to Unity or send to Unreal. Yeah, I'm not using it because it messes things up for me, frankly, a little bit. So I just say export this as export selection as FBX, as an F-box, if that's the right term. And usually the standard settings are okay. I just need to put it where Unity can find it, or I can find it and pull it into Unity. So this is where I just put it to models to game. They call this desk key A. And some things couldn't, of course, the ambient occlusion map. I think this was the problem, because this, of course, the ambient occlusion shader from, now I'm going to quit this, from Arnold won't work in Unity. Either way, so let's have here models, and I create a new folder. Oh, you don't see this, so of course, desk key A. Maybe I will add some more keys and add or import, not refresh, import new asset. There we go. I have so many folders. I really need to have a better structure, but this is as good as it gets, I fear. So textures compressed, models to game, and there is the desk key A. And look at this. There we have it. Wonderful. So let's try to see how it looks in the scene. I just put it there, and it looks, the size looks correct. It's just a small key, and you can see this gray blob around it, because I think this must be because I already have baked the light probes. So for now, let's just put it here, that we can really see how it works in action or together with everything else here in the scene. Okay, so the first thing that I do now is make a new material, because this one is called AI Ambient Occlusion and I can't get rid of it. So I just create a new material just for this key. You can't see it because it's on the other screen, but right now you can see that there is a rollout for a new material. I just call it desk key A material, of course. And let me bring this here that we can see it better. And I can already start importing some of our maps. I can use the diffuse map, the albedo map that we have, and the normal map. Those I can just drag and drop. And finally, the other thing is just we need to marry together all those individual maps like roughness and metallicness in Photoshop, and then provide it as a third map. So desk key to the key and the albedo. Now this is where the magic happens. This looks good. And the normal map, this is where nightmares happen. Yeah, you can see here the reflection. It looks kind of wrong, and this is because the normal map is too strong. And if I set it at, like I say, 0.09, it still has some kind of normal map feeling. Yeah, maybe I think for this small thing we can make it a bit stronger. But you can see here how on the barrel how things are going. It looks incorrect. It looks incorrect. Maybe this is just how normal maps work, or maybe I'm doing things wrong, but yeah, this is why I keep them as they are. Okay, so finally we need more roughness and metalness for this. My god, this model is so small that whenever I'm zooming out, it's really making it's so sensitive again. So let's save this and go back to Photoshop and then make this new combined texture. I'll already have set up for myself. Oh, my wife is telling me that she is going to go to bed now, so I will just show you how this map looks like in action, and I'm not using it, and then wire everything up to work in Unity so that I can still see my wife before she's asleep. So this warehouse wall segment, just to show you how this looks like in the end. So I've split this up in smoothness alpha. Red is metallic, green is occlusion, and B is the detail mask, which is usually white. So this is the roughness. This is a different roughness here apparently, so this is wrong. Then of course I got only the metalness, the metallic map. So in my case of this wall segment here, only the bars and the windows are of course metal, so this is why there is just this metal. Yeah, this is of course the occlusion map for everything, and when you combine it also with the detail map and the alpha map, then you get this weird map that looks completely wrong, but Unity can pick out which she needs. Okay, so finally let's give this key here very quickly a box collider, just that it doesn't clip through the table. Let me just check the collider size, and usually it's fine. It's fine. And finally, to have it work for my game, so now here is the big thing. I can use here a script for anything that you can pick up, and I call this pickable, generic pickable, that I just applied to the key, and we call it desk key A, because we are not very good, very creative. And everything else, let's save it, should work. So let's give this a try and cross our fingers. Let's get rid of here of the project window. So now, okay, this looks good. I can see here the key, but if we hover over it, it doesn't do anything, because apparently I missed something. Yeah, man, I spent way too much time there doing things with the UV mapping and so on, so that, yeah, this... Is it double? Why is it double? Is there a different key here? Am I still in the game? No. Why do I have two keys there? Well, this is the one that's working there, so I think maybe this one is not interactable. This was the problem. So box collider, and let's make it, you know what, let's make this a little bit bigger, just that we can really see it. Desk key A, and everything else, like I said, should work. The only thing is that it doesn't have an entry in the... Yeah, it still doesn't work. Oh, I think I know why. Now it works. First I need to, I forgot to enable here this overview. So now I can click it and I have it here as my desk key, and apparently I don't see it here, but at least I can pick it up and it's gone now. And yeah, sorry for being this rushed towards the ending, but I've really been way over my time. So yeah, again, thank you so much for dropping by. Maybe the week after next week, because next week I'll be looking at another video diary of how Ludum Dare went. Let me switch over to the full cam. There I am. My God, it's so sweaty. But yeah, this would be the gist of it. You can see, again, I think next time I should only do, this is a mapped model, this is how I bring it into the game and to have it working in the game. Because I just get lost with UV mapping and texturing and shading, as you've seen it, despite trying to really force myself to just go on. Okay, so again, thank you so much for spending time with me, for taking part in this little experiment of me rushing against the clock. But yeah, I hope this was interesting to you. Maybe you found something for you to work, especially Materialize. Again, it's a miracle tool. And Cursibu says, thanks for showing off the pros. Yeah, again, I'm so very fortunate for you to be interested in me just talking while I'm doing stuff, and even there are even 6 viewers watching me sweat and yeah, just step on my tongue while I'm talking this quickly. Again, thank you so much for dropping by. I hope you have a wonderful week, because I know that I will, because vacation is over and I'm happy to be back at work. We will see how far I can get with my prototype. But yeah, good things are happening. Stay safe out there, and of course, stay hydrated, and may the unicorn bless you with their presence. And good luck to you all. See you.